Jai Sri Krishna. Here we will start the new topic on the way to Krishna. Chapter 1, Throw Away to Happiness. Every one of us is searching after happiness, but we do not know what what is real happiness. We see so much advertised about happiness, but practically speaking, we see so few people. This is because so few people know that the platform of real happiness is beyond temporary things. It is this real happiness that is described in the Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. Happiness is generally perceived through our senses. A stone, for instance, has no sense and cannot perceive happiness and distress. Developed consciousness can perceive happiness and distress more intensely than undeveloped consciousness. Trees have consciousness, but it is not developed. Trees may stand for a long time in all kind of weather, but they have no way of perceiving misery. If a human being were asked to stand like a tree for only 3 days or even less, he would not be able to tolerate it. The conclusion is that every living being feels happiness or distress according to the degree of development of his consciousness. The happiness that we are experiencing in the material world is not real happiness. If you one asks a tree, "Are you feeling happy?" the tree, if it could, might say, "Yes, I am happy. Standing here all year, I am enjoying the wind and snowfall very much," etc. This may be enjoyed by tree, but for the human being, it is a very low standard of enjoyment. There are different kinds and grade of living entities, and their conception and perceptions of happiness are also of all different types and grades. Although one animal may see that animal is being salted, he will go right on chewing grass, for he has no knowledge to understand that he may be next. He is thinking that he is happy, but at the next moment he may be salted. In this way, there are different degree of happiness. Yet of all of them, what is highest happiness? Sri Krishna tell Arjuna, Sukham atyantikam tat buddhi grahyam atindriyam vedi yatra na chaivayam sritas chalati tavastah. In that joyous state, samadhi, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses, established thus one never depart from the truth. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6:21, sloka. Buddhi means intelligence. One has to be intelligent if he want to enjoy. Animals do not have really developed intelligence and so cannot enjoy life as a human being can. The ants, the nose, the eyes, and the other sense organs, and all the bodily parts may be present on a dead man, but he cannot enjoy. Why not? The enjoying energy, the spiritual spark has left, and therefore the body has no power. If one looks further into the matter with a little intelligence, he can understand that it was not the body that was enjoying at all, but the small spiritual spark that was within. Although one may think that he is enjoying by the bodily sense organ, the real enjoyer is that spiritual spark. That spark always has the potential of enjoyment, but it is not always manifest due to being covered by the material turbulence. Tabernacle. Although we may not be aware of it, it is not possible for the body to experience enjoyment without the presence of this spiritual spark. If a man is offered the dead body of a beautiful woman, will he accept it? No, because the spiritual spark has moved out of the body. Not only was it enjoying within the body, but it was maintaining the body. When that spark leaves, the body simply deteriorates. It follows that if the spirit is enjoying, it must have its sense also. Otherwise, how can it enjoy? The Vedas confirm that the spirit soul, although atomic in size, is the actual enjoying agent. It is not possible to measure the soul, but that is not to say that it is without measurement. An object may seem to us to be no greater than a point and may seem to have no length or width, but when we perceive it under a microscope, we can see that it has both length and width. Similarly, the soul also has its dimension, but we cannot perceive them. When we buy a suit or a dress, it made to fit the body. The spiritual spark must have form. Otherwise, how is it the material body has grown to accommodate it? The conclusion is that the spiritual spark is not impersonal, it is actual person. God is an actual person, and the spiritual conclusion is that the spiritual spark is not impersonal. Spiritual spark being a fragmental part of him is also a person. If the Father has personality and individuality, the Son also has them, and if the Son has them, we can conclude that the Father has them. So how can we, as a son of God, assert our personality and individuality and at the same time deny them to our Father, the spiritual, the Supreme Lord? Atindriyam means that we have to transcend these material senses before we can appreciate real happiness. Ramante yogina natye satyananda chitan atmani. The yogis who are aspiring after spiritual life are also tasting enjoyment by focusing on the super soul within. If there is no pleasure, if there is no enjoyment, then what is the point of going to so much trouble to control the senses? What kind of a pleasure are the yogis realizing if they are taking so much trouble? That pleasure is ananta, endless. How is this? The spiritual soul is eternal, and the Supreme Lord is eternal. They are therefore the reciprocation of their loving exchanges is eternal. One who actually intelligence will refrain from the flickering sensual enjoyment of this material body and fix his enjoyment in his spiritual life. His participation is in spiritual life with the Supreme Lord is called Rasalila. We have often heard of Krishna Rasalila with the cowherd girls in Vrindavana. That is not like ordinary exchanges that take place between the material bodies. Rather, it is an exchange of feelings through spiritual bodies. One has to somewhat intelligence to understand this. For a policeman who cannot understand what real happiness is, seek happiness in the material world. In India, there is the story of a man who did not know what sugar can was and was told that it was very sweet to chew. Oh, what does it look like? He asked. It looked like a bamboo rod. Someone said so. The policeman began to chew all kind of bamboo rods. how can he begin to experience the sweetness of sugarcane? Similarly, we are trying to get happiness and pleasure, but we are trying for them by chewing this material body. Therefore, there is no happiness and no pleasure. For the time being, there may be some little feelings of a pleasure, but that is not actual pleasure, for it is temporary. It is like a show of lightning which we may see flashing in the sky, that may momentarily seem like lightning, but the real lightning is beyond that, because a person doesn't really know what is happiness is. He derived deviate from real happiness. The the process of for establishing oneself in real happiness is this process of a Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness, we can gradually develop our real intelligence and naturally enjoy realizing spiritual happiness as we make spiritual progress. As we begin to realize spiritual happiness, we proportionately abandon material happiness. As we make progress in understanding the absolute truth, we naturally become detached from this false happiness. If somehow or other one is promoted to the stage of a Krishna consciousness, what is the result? Yam lavate chaparam labham manyate naidikam tatah अस्मिन् चित्तो न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचलते. Upon getting this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. When one attains that stage, other achievements appear insignificant. In this material world, we are trying to achieve so many things: riches, women, fame, beauty, knowledge, etc. But as soon as we are situated in Krishna consciousness, we think, oh, no achievement is better than this. Krishna is so potent that a little taste can save one from the greatest danger. As one began to realize the taste of Krishna consciousness, he began to see other so-called enjoyment and attainment as flat and tasteless. And if one is situated firmly in Krishna consciousness, the greatest danger cannot disturb him. There are so many dangers in the life because the material world is placed in danger. We tend to close our eyes to this, and because we are foolish, we try to adjust to this danger. We may have many dangerous moments in our life, but if we are training ourselves in Krishna consciousness and preparing ourselves to go home, go back to Godhead, we will not care for them. Our attitude will then be, danger come and go, so let it them happen. It is very difficult to make this kind of adjustment as long as one is on the materialistic platform and is identifying with the gross body, which is composed of perishable elements. But the more one advances in Krishna consciousness, the more he become free from bodily designation and this material entanglement. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the material world is compared to a great ocean. With, within this material universe, there are millions and billions of planets floating in space, and we are just imagine how many Atlantic and Pacific Ocean are there. In fact, the whole material universe is linked to a great ocean of misery, one an ocean of birth and death. In order to cross this great ocean of nations, a strong boat is needed, and that strong boat is the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. We should immediately get aboard that boat. We should no, we should not hesitate thinking that Krishna feet are very small. The whole universe is simply resting on his leg. For one who taken shelter of his feet, it is said that the material universe is no more significant than a puddle of puddle of water founding in impression of a craft clap of a hoop sprint. There is certainly no difficulty in crossing over such a small puddle. तविद्य दुःख संयोग वियोगम योग samnitam. This indeed is actually freedom from all misery arise from material contact. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 23. We are entangled in the material world due to uncontrolled sense. The yoga process is meant to control these senses. If somehow we can manage to control the senses, we can turn our face to actual spiritual happiness and make our life successful. सचि स निश्चय युक्तो विहो योगो निर्विण चेतसा संकल्प प्रभवन् कामं त्यक्त्वा सर्वम् ऐशितः अमनसैर्वेन्द्रिय ग्रमं विनियम्य सम्मन्यतः सन्न्यः सन्नेह सनर उपरहं बुद्ध्या धरति गृहीतय आत्मसमस्तयं मनः कृत्वा न किञ्चित् अपि चिन्तयत् यत यत निश्चलति मनसचलम् अस्थिरां तत तथा से ततो नित्यमन्यत आत्मन्य एवावश्यं नियते. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with undeviating determination and faith, and not to be deviate from the path. One should abandon without exception all the material desire born of mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on the side by the mind. Gradually, step by step, with the full conviction, one should become situated in the trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. From wherever the mind wander due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of self. The mind is always disturbed. It is going sometimes in this way and sometimes that way. By yoga practice, we literally drag the mind to Krishna consciousness. The mind stay from Krishna consciousness to so many exterior objects because from times memorial, life after life, that has been our practice. Due to this, there may be great difficulty in the beginning when one try to fix his mind in Krishna consciousness. But these difficulties can all be overcome. It is because the mind is agitated and not fixed on Krishna that it goes from one thought to another. For instance, when we are engaged in work, memories of events that happened 10, 20, 30, or 40 years ago may suddenly come to our mind for no apparent reason. These thoughts come from our subconscious, and because they are always rising, the mind is always agitated. If we agitate a lake or a pond, all the mud from the bottom comes to the surface. Similarly, when the mind is agitated, so many thoughts arise from the subconscious that have been stored there over the years. If we do not disturb a pond, the mud will settle to the bottom. This yoga process is the means to quit the mind and allow all these thoughts to settle. For this reason, there are so many rules and regulations to follow in order to keep the mind from the becoming agitated. If we follow the rule and regulation, gradually the mind will come under control. There are so many don'ts, and so many do's. And if one is serious about training the mind, he has to follow them. If he asks whimsically what is the possibility of a mind being controlled, when the mind is finally trained to the point where it will think of nothing but Krishna, it will attain peace and will become very tranquil. Prasanta manasam he enam yoginam sukham uttamam apati shantarajasam brahma bhutam akalasam. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attain the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the supreme, and thus he is free from all the reaction to past deed. The mind is always concocting objects for happiness. I am always thinking this will make me happy and that will make me happy. Happiness is here. Happiness is there. In this way, the mind is taking us anywhere and everywhere. It is as though we are riding on a chariot behind the unbridled horse. We have no power over where we are going, but can only sit in horror and watch helplessly. As soon as the mind is engaged in the process of Krishna consciousness, specifically by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then the wild horses of the mind will gradually come under the control. We must engage in Krishna service every moment of our lives in order to keep the restless and turbulent mind from dragging us from one object to another in a vain search for happiness in the temporary material world. Yanjan Yunjan evam sadatmanam योगी विगत कल्मषः सुखेन ब्रह्म संप्रसम् अत्यन्तं सुखम अस्तु अश्नुते. Thus, the self-control yogi constantly engaged in yoga practice become free from all material contamination and achieve the highest stage of perfection happiness in the transcendental loving service to the Lord. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 verse 28 it was mentioned, Krishna serves as a pattern for one who is devoted to him. When one is in difficulty, he patron save him. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the real friend of every living entity, and we have to receive our friendship with him. The method of receiving this friendship is the process of Krishna consciousness. By practice of Krishna consciousness, modern passionate hankering will come to a stop. The passionate hankering keep us divorced from Krishna. Krishna is within us and is waiting for us to turn to him. But we are too busy passionately eating the fruit of the tree of material desire. The passionate compulsion to enjoy this fruit must stop, and we must situate ourselves in our real identity as Brahman, pure spirit. So this is the way we can go through our way to happiness. If you will always think we will think about Krishna, or we will give our thought everything to the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna, then we will get happiness that will be that will be on endless happiness. Jai Jagannath, Jai Sri Krishna.